I can see you already, but I'm not sure if you can hear me. I think you're muted, Jimae. You are. Did I mute you? No, I don't think I have muted you. You are muted.
Oh, okay now.
Hi, good
Hi,
afternoon.
ma'am. So,
This is kind of funny because you can actually come here to the college or the campus, but we decided to just have this online conversation.
yeah, to really promote virtual platforms for connectivity, it is really okay, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Good to see you. You look very pretty this afternoon.
I will attend a wedding around 6 p.m. So it's also a
Ah,
virtual wedding.
oh,
So
really?
yes,
Okay.
it's for a friend in Cebu. So we cannot travel to Cebu as of the moment. So we were tasked to, look like we will be attending the actual wedding. So that's why I'm dressed up like this, because I know this could be a long but a very good conversation.
No, we'll make sure that we finish with you having a little bit of time to prepare for the wedding. We don't want you to miss
Already
it.
logged in the Zoom meeting already, so there's no problem. It is also recorded. So yeah.
Maybe you need to touch up, you know.
Ko para makita na.
Tita, pero yeah, that's very nice. This is funny because it's my first one-on-one conversation with a non-student. Basically, I've had several one-on-one conversations, but with my students who are officially enrolled. But this is a different kind of conversation because this is for something else, although still related for the academy.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so thank you for saying yes to my invitation that you have a talk with me virtually and to talk about a few things, but mostly about experiential learning as an important tool. One of the tools, no, not just the main tool, but one of the tools perhaps to help level up our instructional systems, not here only in CMU, but perhaps it could be useful for other academe as well. So thank you, Jimae. So for because I'll be uploading this actually on Facebook and maybe on YouTube. I'm not yet sure. I have to ask your permission. Would you?
There's no problem on that, ma'am.
Okay.
As long as it will help.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So for everybody, I'd like to introduce briefly Jimae. Jimae is an alumna of Central Mindanao University. She graduated magna cum laude and she was also a student leader, but I think she can tell you more about herself, no? Because I think the life and the track record of this lady is inspiring and wonderful. So I'll just give her the time to tell you more about herself. So would you please do that, Jimae?
So, hi, I'm Jimae Magnaye. So, as ma'am said, I graduated magna cum laude from Central Mindanao University last 2015 from the Bachelor of Agriculture major in crop science with horticulture option. And because of experiential learning, I could say I also got a good place in the board exam. I ranked 9 in the 2015 National Agricultural Licensure Examination, as well as I've been recognized for my leadership because of experiential learning again for the 10 outstanding students of the Philippines. It's the longest running award recognizing body in the Philippines for young individuals, as well as I've attended a lot of organizations, participated in many activities, which I could say will be very good platforms as well for young individuals to make the most of their college life. So I don't want to elaborate further of what I've achieved, but I want to share on how I achieved those. So I guess that would be more helpful for you so that you won't be overwhelmed of, oh, she's so good, blah, blah, blah. Let's take away the notion that I am too smart, but rather, how did I achieve it? Because we all know before, we don't have agriculture in our high school curriculum. And how did I did well, even if I wasn't really inclined or exposed to the said field?
All right, thank you for that. So I'm sure that I'll be having a few questions to go back to your track record as a student, and even after you have graduated, you have continued to, made a lot of successes in your profession. Although you're pursuing a different field right now, not really different, but something that is kind of way off path. But we'll talk about that maybe later. So, by the way, so Jimae was never my student. That's my only regret. I never had a real experience of her in a classroom, because I would think it would be very interesting to have her in the class. But we did have a few collaborative work, especially when she was the USCO chair, right, Jimae? You were the USCO chair.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is one good thing about Jimae is that she maintained a very good balance of doing a very good academic life and also doing a lot of leadership work as well as other extracurricular activities. But sige, you will learn more about her and about her outstanding record as we continue our conversation. So, okay. So, where are you based right now, Jimae?
As of now, I'm at home, but it's kind of when you're at home, but your mind is at different places because I'm managing a lot of affairs. So yeah, basically that's the online world right now. You can be in a lot of places. So yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah, that's good. And I think many of us, are discovering a lot of things on how to manage our life with additional tasks, or how to sustain the usual things that we do, but also trying to learn new things because of a new platform of conversation or learning. Because I think you're also a current student, right? A graduate student. Are you still pursuing that, or?
yes, ma'am. I'm currently enrolled as a graduate student at the University of Southern Mindanao. So basically, I'm a businesswoman, a student, and a farm manager at the same time. So there are as well as a family member. So basically, I'm at home. I manage the house affairs, but I guess that fourth task, I guess, per day that I need to balance on. The fifth one is my personal life. So yeah, so it's kind of different, yes.
Yeah, so I think you can juggle all those five major tasks. Although I'm sure there are also other secondary tasks that you have to juggle. So sige, let's get officially started. So with right now you're juggling five major tasks, but even when you were a student, you were actually very busy also. So how did you balance your academic life when you were a university student, and not just a passive university student? You were very active university student, and you were also equally active as a student leader. And okay, so that's one question already. And the other question related to that is, and still maintain, loving the learning process or enjoying the learning process.
Okay, so where will I start? So basically, how would I state this? I love how I learned agriculture. So basically, it's one of the exciting stuff because it's very tangible, especially in the college. We have a lot of laboratory experiences, and our instructors, our professors are really competent in teaching the subject. So basically, when we talk about agriculture, it is something that inspired me to go into leadership activities actually, because when you see the situation of my classmates, blockmates, and I can say that it is based on experience that I wanted to help on how they will also outside the when I say how can I state this? Sometimes I could see them in the classroom, but beyond the classroom is also another life of a student. And sometimes when you see how difficult they are sent by their parents, when we have this short time to talk about our lives aside from being students, you see that somebody needs to help them in order to have better student life outside the usual schedule of our classes. So basically that is my driving force why I participated into different leadership activities in the university, because I want to help them. And what really comes back when there are these instances when I why should I do that? I'm already at the pedestal. I am kind of well off, as they say. Why do I serve? I could, there's no benefit for me at all. But I see them when I see their parents at one point or another, I see them na they are really having this hard time providing for their kids just to send them to college. And it's really inspiring to make every peso count, being paid to councils, to activities that they will enjoy it at the same time. It's a nourishment for their souls, as I can say, because we are not just academically related.
Mm-hmm.
And we are also people, we are a society growing. So starting in the university, it's you can see them as the individuals you will work with in the future. So I want them to have better college life, I could say. And when it comes to learning, it's really exciting to have the activities really from the basic up to the, maybe we can't afford, didn't have much of equipments before, but it's very tangible. It's a very tangible experience for me. And maintaining the grade is more of, I could say, you need to really have these priorities in life. So striking the balance, that's
Mm-hmm.
all I could say.
Yeah, thank you for that. I asked about establishing the balance about being active in extracurricular activities and also with academic life because
Mm.
for the past 2 semesters now with online learning, I think establishing the balance seems to be one of the struggles of the current students. So it's good to hear what you said about that. So when you said something that really struck me, no, you said that agriculture is something that is very tangible for you, which is really true. I agree. Personally, I come from the College of Arts and Sciences in my undergrad, although not in CMU. I was into new theoretical biology, and then I found my way, or rather, the world found me to be in agriculture, which is an applied field. That's why it's very tangible, and so I think I like that also, the sense that you can see a real output and not just a theoretical output. So what I would like to comment when you said that you really had the sense of wanting to help your classmates, I think is a mark of a good leadership because I believe that one of the best definitions of leadership is being responsible for others. And uh, yeah, for me, there are many definitions of leadership, definitely. For me, that's one of the best definitions that you feel responsible. Even if you're not supposed to do any other, well, you're not supposed to do that, but you felt the responsibility. And the goal is to help make people's lives better or to make things better. And also, what you said is, although I would sort of disagree when you would say na, there would be nothing you would get from it because uh, I forgot who said it, but somebody said that doing good for others is good for your heart. And although you said it's good for the soul, and I agree with that. So, sabi nga nung, I really forgot who said, sabi niya, if doing good for others makes you feel good, then go out there every day doing good for others. Okay, so, so, sige, we can move on, but that's already a very good, inspiring words from you. So, you were a very active student, although I don't really remember. That's the sad thing about it because I don't remember you doing a lot of leadership role in the college, or am I wrong with that? Because I knew you to be a very active leader on the university level, but not at the college level. Um, or was it by choice, or you were active in your because you have an academic society in your department, right? Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so because I could not link you or my age is really showing. So can you explain a little bit whether I'm correct in my assumption that you were more active in leadership at the university level rather than at the college level?
Um, Maybe it's I've been actually my training ground is in the college. So from first year to second year, I've been the uh college representative. So when I tried to run for a position in the college, but maybe it's it's not for me, and maybe it's a greater calling, and I could attest to that because sometimes it your service to the college won't stop. That's why I help in our department. And I remember one time we did won the local FASMIN because of our efforts. So we were only five regular majors in at that time, but we did our best. Yes, we are so small in the population before. I don't know now, I wasn't updated, but during those times we keep ourselves saying that, let's take the challenge, okay, we can do this in the department. And I was really focusing on the college level because it was already in the RSO. So it was the Association of Registered Student Organizations, wherein we manage different affairs of the different organizations. And I was the president that time during my third year because I did not won in the college. I got to represent the Propelling Our Inherited Nation Through Youth Incorporated, which was focused on channeling or building awareness on what our armed forces were doing for peace process in the college. We all know that some people would say that there are a lot of communists in the college too. I mean, there are a lot of gossips about that, but we try to educate people that our army is not about war, but they are also in building civil societies. So by that, when I was in the RSO, I got to see a bigger picture for the societies because we were also regulating the activities of the fraternities, sororities, and that. But I could say that I was in the shadow play of the college. I gave advices to activities. I did participate, and it was a bit of fun when I was just a participant in the college because most of the time I'm an organizer, and I can seem to have the fun that the students are having. So I got to attend parties without checking the attendance, and that is really something I was thankful for because sometimes I see that good leadership is not always on leading, but also in participating in the activities. That's why even if, oh my God, I have an exam at 7 a.m. the next day, okay, it's a college party. Okay, I attend, no problem. So I just have to go home as soon as the activities have ended, no more after parties or something like that. And it feels so good to also see your friends excelling in their leadership while taking advice as well. So I guess that's what had happened, and I was happy with the outcome as well.
I think okay, so I think it's my lack of information basically. So yeah, so I never knew that you were the RSO chair or president when you were in third year.
I was just a PIO, so I was just a part of the.
Okay.
It's a that was the best, I guess, best experience for me because I had to learn how to be a follower of
Mm-hmm.
a, of a leader, and it is something that I could say very worthwhile
Yeah.
because you learn as well from the other leaders in the college who are in, I was just in third year, I guess, or yeah, third year. I was in third year when I was learning from the Grant Amon Shaw, from the different leaders in in the university, and you see how their vision also transformed the student life of CMU once all through the years.
Right, right. I remember Grant also. So
Mhm.
yeah. So there's no need for me to ask you whether you had so much fun during your university years in CMU because apparently you did. And so I was thinking that I was actually impressed when you said that there were only a few majors in your department
Yes.
during your time. So five. So I think that's the power of a few. Sometimes having a few people actually is better than having a lot when there would be lack of participation. Because you said something that really was very striking when you said that a good leader should also be a good follower. So if you organize an activity, you should also be a participant, no, not just to facilitate the activities or the event, but also to really participate. I remember that because I keep harping on that in class. I always believe that a good class is a very dynamic class. I don't believe in monologues, although there are students who believe that teachers or faculty members should just do a monologue for 1 hour, which is something that I really hate, but you cannot force it. But you did say that if you organize a party, you should actually also party. In that sense, I think that the same principle, although you can comment on this, I think the same principle should also be brought to the classroom, because if you're a student, um, I'm not sure if I have a very narrow definition of what a student is, or maybe other students would have a wider definition, because uh, it's like a class is like a party. You're supposed to be there. Your goal is at the end of the day, at the end of your class, to learn, to enjoy. So, can you please comment? Because I think and I believe and I've heard that you enjoy conversations with your professors in class. And how can you encourage? Am I correct? You enjoy conversations
Yes.
professors in class. So how can you encourage many students, current students, and even future students to also enjoy that kind of experience? Because um, I believe in the university. If you reach university level, it should be about letting your professors know what you're thinking, and and I don't see a lot of that in some of the students in the past few years. And even with the online classroom, many students may be fatigued to just even participate. They are logged in, so it means that they're present in class, but they're not necessarily participating. So can you, how would you encourage? How
How
would you
would I
encourage students
encourage?
so that they would enjoy, doing this active dynamism in class, just like how you did when you were a student, and maybe even now that you're a grad student?
So for me, it's a matter of yes, until in my grad school, I'm still that they say makulit student, or the one who is asking professors during, but I do respect their official time. So I just ask between 8 to 5 p.m. And sometimes when they have consultations, or when they send when it's beyond that time, I just send an email. So
Mhm.
uh I don't want to invade the privacy of Facebook during when I say like it's 9 p.m. submission. I don't notify them in Facebook, sometimes like that. But during college, what is really striking for me is that it's always this quote, ask and you shall be given. Because some of our professors tend to forget what was this concept about, or they cannot elaborate something, because I guess it's about the time as well. It's only I guess I'll set it up as to 35 minutes, because you're given 15 minutes to be late, or some loot time that okay before you go out of the classroom, this and that. So back then I could remember that I was asking the questions when I think I was really observant in class. I'm in front, but I observe my classmates how they're doing and how they are coping with the lessons. And sometimes when we talk outside, or when they message me the night they ask me questions, I will throw it back to the professor. Sometimes they're intimidated, I guess, because they think that universities university level is the same as high school. They think about the big wall boundary wherein it would their GMRC will be measured. But I guess it should transcend beyond that. That maybe at some classes, they should establish how communication between students and professors should go, because sometimes they're afraid because they would be told as disrespectful, or sometimes they lack the communication skills. And I guess that should be improved as well when during recitations, because during grad school, if my skills in communication wasn't built really during my college years, when I was asking professors about this and that, I would really have a hard time. So when we say online classes, it's a different story, I guess. It could have been better to ask your professors alongside with the lessons, rather than staying at your pedestal saying that because I have this experience having some students asking for help, and I could see them that they are not really that into taking the risk of asking questions, because I think it is way better nowadays that you don't see your professors up front. You can send a message about your question, but sometimes they would say that okay, I got it, but they don't really get it. So that's very, I mean, you don't have to play smart in order not to be told as stupid, because when you have those answers already, I mean, I would brand myself, I was really stupid before, but I study, I ask questions, I interact, and I guess that's one of the, I really ask those difficult questions because I always think it won't make me less of a person when I ask.
Yeah.
That's that's really something humbling for our, for my student life. I guess some people think that I am too high, I'm too smart, but really I really ask questions. And I guess that really makes up for the things that you do. And for online classes, I guess it's a matter of having this schedule. Again, it is about priorities, because sometimes students tend to kasi may internet, they tend to play, they tend to do Facebook, they tend to talk in Messenger. But you see, we have these learning platforms. You are not made to do Facebook, you are not made to do Mobile Legends during that time. You know the schedule for that time, and you have to do that. It's not something that because the class is online, I'll submit this at 12 midnight. No, we don't do that, because sometimes making too much time or stretching the deadline would really make it very difficult for you to manage the task later on.
Yeah.
That is really so. They tend to say that, okay, the submission is 11 p.m. I'll submit it at 11 p.m. But remember, you have to sleep at 9 p.m. So why are you making an overtime?
Yeah.
That is something that you should manage.
That's procrastination. And anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I like what you said about, the your principle about being active in class, asking questions, or even sharing. What I believe to be a dynamic class is that students are not afraid to ask questions or to share or to add on or to clarify, because your job is to learn. That should be the definition of a student. And when you say that your basic principle why you raise questions in class is because you believe in, the adage, ask and you shall be given. I have a similar saying for that: ask and you will learn more. So that is for me, that is for the student: ask and you will learn more. But actually I learned that early on from my mom way back in high school: ask and you will learn more. And it doesn't mean that you are being stupid if you ask questions. It means that you may just lack a little bit of knowledge about that, or you don't know really anything about it. That's why you're asking questions. Asking questions should not be a sign of stupidity. And that's the, well, you graduated in 2015. And I don't know if it's getting worse, or maybe there are just particular classes wherein students are more active or less active. But I think it's a kind of culture in many state universities that need to be cultivated. And I what could do you have tips like for me as a faculty and for the students as well? Do you think you have tips on how we can cultivate a better and a more interactive um, classroom environment? Because I think one of the things that limit students is because they struggle to speak in English, which should not be the case. Um, because as long as you can express ideas, and if you're the faculty, if you're the professor does not have the monopoly of knowledge. So I don't think that the professor, if he or she really doesn't know the answer, then it's basically okay. It is all right to say, well, I don't know anything about that. I haven't read up anything about it. I have very little knowledge about it. But the mark also of a good professor is that even if he or she would be taken aback by an answer, then, other switches in the brain would switch on, would say, I'm not very sure about that, how to answer, but I think. When you start with the phrase, I think, no, I think that, this could be a possibility or a possible answer to your question. Um, I hope that we can have a better culture of that nothing has to be exact in a class for both the students and the professor. And it's a mutual learning venue. So my question actually is, although I spoke, God, it's taking me so long. I'm just going to reiterate the question. how can you or what are your tips to cultivate the culture in many academies? Because you were also a teacher. You were a teacher in the university also, and then you went to a
High
very
school.
to a very top caliber science high school, and then you
Yes.
went to again to another state college, right? So
Yes.
can you say something about cultivating that culture of dynamism, both from the students' side and the professor side, without being, you don't have to worry about not knowing something because, again, both parties should also learn from one another. So.
Okay, so for me, in the perspective of the student, it's always on minding your curiosity in a respectful manner. Always, you should watch your language. It is something that really cultivates the communication part because though I am outspoken, I could say that I really value the profession of my professors. I really see them as as people who know better than me, not that I know better than them, because as far as I know, some of them would say that she's smarter than me. No, it it doesn't happen that way, because as professors sometimes we have to, as I was an educator before, and imagine way back I taught in high school, I was just asking for a problem solving. I was giving them a population density solving set. So that's how I communicate their algebra towards agriculture. So one of my students suddenly submitted an application, okay, which coded for what will be the best arrangement for a farm. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this. But I said to the student, "Oh, this is a really good thing that you did. You expanded beyond." Because when the student goes beyond what is your expectation, it means that he or she is very interested in the topic. So you also, as a professor, I guess one is you affirm the question or you affirm the student for being curious. And second is that even if you don't know the answer, you still affirm the curiosity, and it makes us young.
Mhm.
In truth, it makes us young to, okay, that's another idea that you got there, and I'll look into that later if I have time while checking papers. So sometimes like that. And I have this experience. Well, that's for the professor part. And the another one is, this is kind of difficult, but learning the language of the Gen Z, Gen Y is really something, because one of the things that I learned is that they are very sensitive to your words, and a small criticism would really hurt their ego. I'm sorry, but that's that. We learn their language, especially LGBTQ plus. So we learn how the way they are sensitive to your pronouns, to your nouns. That's something that you would level up. And sometimes you learn their language in a matter of using it for academic purposes. That's what you see. I tried to simplify it because, ma'am, I in the college where I was assigned, because it's a small college, my students were ALS graduate. So they are not really exposed to what is a classroom setup. So you have to go to the modular learning part, and you have to, I learned how to make Bisaya or vernacular of agricultural terms. So that is kind of difficult for us. But in the university level, like CMU, we are expecting our students to be some sort of, in a way, caliber students since they passed the CMU CAT. But maybe it would help as well to have this maybe vocabulary terms for agriculture. I guess that would be a good start for if they go Agri 11. They give you all the terms so that when you talk in topics, you have this similar vocabulary so that you won't have more of difficulty. And for the student, I guess the student should adjust, because it's a part of our learning process to be malleable. You should be shaped according to what you want and what is expected from you. You cannot just go with a will that this is me. No, we are in college, we're being educated to be somebody in the society that we are fitted for. It's not that we do what we would just want, or we just settle for who we are. But when we try to expand our possibilities, asking questions, communicating with people who've been farther than us or who are more experienced, it we earn their experience through the conversation and the communication part. That is something that I learned when I've been with a lot of professors who are way my age, like Sir Ungab, Sir Delphine. I forgot. They are from Agron, the seniors from Agron that I could say, but they look so young. Sir Disco and the likes. So you learn their experience earned for 40 years or 30 years. And that is something that is very valuable because not all of the audience or not all of the students could really capture those years of experience. And that is something that we capture. That is my technique. I really capture what they have learned for almost 20 years of experience, even in that conversation for 30 minutes. That's the time when I visit their offices. That's what I do at times. So I ask questions, and when I gather that okay, I don't have to go through the 30 years of learning just to have that information, but I got that because I asked, not because I was really afraid or I did something else. Because when it's university time, when it's class time, and even if it's free time, it is independent learning period. It's not a free time really. And sometimes that's what gets miscommunicated to students. And that is what I teach my students as well. Because in the Philippine Science High School system, agriculture is taught. Like, can you imagine, ma'am? My 4 years will be taught within 2 semesters or 4 quarters, and how will I get that jump back and all? So it's already a tedious process. But when you try to burst questions or give the students a chance to communicate with you, even during your free time, they get interested and they will expand the learning process. And we need students who are more innovative in their learning process rather than they think that, okay, this is what just you learn. No, it doesn't happen that way. You
Uh,
always, as a student, expand your horizon for what you really want and how these professors could help you achieve that. Okay, I guess that's something.
yeah, thank you for that. So I think you really are one of the students before who know your responsibility, who know your role. Like, you are there to learn as much as you can when you're inside the classroom, but also to learn as much as you can even outside the classroom. And if you feel like your learning in the classroom is not very substantial, then you sought your professors. And
I
by the way,
do.
yeah, by the way, that's one of the things that is not optimized in here, because I only know three universities. No, my university, my two universities, UP and Illinois, and then CMU. But um, in CMU, it seems that not many students know how to optimize the consultation hours. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So hopefully, whoever will be listening to this video later, or watching the video later on, hopefully could catch that on. So um, I like what you said when you said cultivate and affirm the curiosity of students, because that is really one of the important things that has to be emphasized. No, if you are learners, one of your skills and your values should be curiosity, and if you are the professor, one of your major jobs is definitely to cultivate the curiosity. So I like that, and also I hope that students would realize, especially university students, uh, would realize that the most important tool when you come to university level, the most important tool is your brain to be, the most important skill to be sharpened is your critical thinking. So your thinking
Yes.
process. And I think you're not wanting on that area. So, um, okay. I'm very interested with your experience in Philippine Science High School, because I don't know how to I never have the experience dealing with younger people with high school. So but then Philippine Science High School is something that's also, have one of,
Prestigious.
yeah, very prestigious. Getting in there if you're a student is not easy. And you said that your 4 year of the BSA, the jam-packed knowledge of BSA you learn from college, you have to put it in 4 terms or basically 2 years. So my question is, I don't think it's very possible for you to put everything in a very limited duration. So what were the approaches you settled in, the learning approaches and the teaching approaches that you decided to use on your Philippine Science High School students, and in contrast to your ALS, your other set of students in another in another school, because seems very interesting, and I think
Yes.
it entailed a lot of innovativeness on your part because you dealt with two different sets and types
Yes.
of students. So can you please share a little bit more about the best strategies for the Philippine Science High School students and for your students in another academy? The ones who are
Okay.
predominantly ALS graduates. Okay.
So for first, for Philippine Science High School experience, I'm also an alumna of Philippine Science High School Davao.
Sorry, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, it's okay, ma'am. So that is one of the things when I entered the said institution and I thought there, uh, one of the things that is very difficult is to prove your caliber. Okay,
Yeah.
so gladly, I graduated with the honors and the, what to say this, uh, I topped the board exam because one thing that the students will ask you, who are you? Why should we learn from you? Yes, because I was showcasing an elective. So it's quite difficult because I am the pioneering teacher and it is sometimes I know I could teach them, but with the limited time, though it is 250 minutes per week, it's very difficult to balance somehow that because I also handle the laboratory. So imagine I have to deal with the lab and the lec. So it is in college you don't do that. So I have to go to crop science. The crop science is also already packed with the crop protection part. So with genetics as well. So it's, oh my god, how will I just store a USB and punch it to their heads? No, I can't do that. So basically what I did is that I utilize their very good training in their pure sciences like chemistry, physics, and biology. So the thing is, when agriculture is brought into just the topic that okay, this is the photosynthesis. No, no, no. They don't accept that. They are critical thinkers, innovators. So you think of a way how to showcase the lesson that boom, okay, that is good. That is something that we could listen to because I experienced one student asking me, "Who are you, ma'am?" As in a class, I was just like what I told the student, Google my name and you will know. That got them, okay, because somehow when before I thought there I've gathered into organizations and the like. So they were like, okay, this teacher is credible. So that is one. And what I did was that I always give them the pinch of idea, something that will keep their focus because as a student before then, I remember that if the teacher is not interesting, I won't listen to you. So I know how their brain works. And I also know how to push them further. How far I could push them. Like for example, when we have this activity on make an agricultural robot in the future, blah blah blah. So you have to, if you're into the people or you're the students who have been through because we have this lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills, I guess that will be good to be inculcated in college as well. You know that what are the type of questions that would really cultivate the students thinking, and what are the higher order thinking skills that you need to cultivate, because sometimes it's not really based upon my experience. I could say that the learning experience in CMU is in a way easier than what I had in Philippine Science High School because we have to invent, we have to innovate. We always use the evaluation and critical thinking skills part in high school, but in SEMU, some of our test banks are not really that. When I say the questions were not in the HOTS, higher order thinking skills, and I guess that is sort of something that we could improve, I guess. my suggestion, because when I go to the Philippine Science High School students, they're really, what's more with this? And you have to show them the application. And with that, one of the things that I really cultivate with them, because we are really invested in the students, is how is agriculture really important in our society, and what are the applications of these basic concepts going to the society? How would it make the society better, and why do you have to take agriculture? So that's our for the higher spectrum, I guess. But when I came to the ALS students in the college, though it's kind of difficult, because you have to expose them first to the actual classroom setup. They are so used in modular, because in ALS they are sent modules, and they just have to answer it. They pass an assessment, and then, oh boom, they go to college. But you have to communicate better with them, just like, how could I strike this without getting bad? You have to go back to the basics of classroom management. So I have to teach them how to communicate, how to talk how to participate in class. So somehow that is why most of the time I have to go with in Philippine Science High School, I could just dispense articles or journals, but with them, I really have to make those meta cards, concept mapping, all the basic teaching skills that I could do. And since we don't have much of resources like a projector, we don't have that there, so I have to make all these cartolinas and manila papers and pluck pluck pluck. And then that's when we did our reporting, because the students are working, ma'am. They are husbands, wives, mothers, and yeah, some of them will bring their kids, and I would be shocked that, okay, I'm just this years old, and may magnano na sa within the class, and their kids sitting. Yes. And there are students, mom, I am late because I just harvested the banana here and there, because their works are for supervisors and they just want to go to college. So basically, what we did was that, okay, from the terms itself, we have to go through it. And I'm just lucky that the students are also patient on how to deal with the subject, I guess. And they were the people whom you have to communicate with their experience. Like extension, how would you communicate with them with that? You need to say, oh, di ba, ganito, ganyan, it's your experience at your home. That is sometimes like the hugot of their personal lives as people with the poverty experience. I could really say that when I was there. But they're really generous with their time. They would really, the one thing I love about them is they ask, and I know it's a violation of our instruction in college. I speak in vernacular. I have no choice.
Oh, I disagree with. Okay.
I have to talk with them because they are not exposed on English, because they were on modular. So it's very, I guess, where would we strike on that? But later on, we tried to have them speaking in English. Some of them cried in class, and I was so guilty about it. But I told them, this is the reality, and it's not just for you. I always tell them when I teach them about talking in English or speaking in English. Later on, when we were in the last 6 weeks, I guess, of classes, I told them, this is not for you, but for your kids. You teach your kids how to, because there's this deep valuing of their children, and I have to utilize that your kids will be the one to benefit if you know how to speak English, because when they ask you about their modules later on, which really happened because we had a pandemic, so you could understand or deliver what their teacher was saying. So the experience in teaching this diverse spectrum of learners was really an eye opener. That's why I could say that this is one of my plans. That's why I engaged in my, let's say, my grad school, because I'm into this is just a long shot plan, but I want to be a curriculum developer for agriculture, because there's no particular person looking into that aspect on how do we have this connectivity on the topics from the senior high up to the university, up to the PhD level, and how do we deliver those learning sets efficiently. It's just a long shot dream, but they're saying that if you have internalized it, maybe it's possible. So
Yeah,
I
I don't think it's a long shot dream. I think I saw that also early on. So one of your possibilities is to apply for DepEd or CHED to be part of that, because those are the agencies that could immediately help you deliver the changes that needed to be delivered. So I just need to respond to some of the things, because you just so your answer is very rich in terms of rich in flavor and rich in content. But I'd like to point out, because I also realized that although they say that English is the medium of instruction in most schools, um, right now I believe more on what's the most effective language to communicate, because it yes, gracious, there is definitely an advantage, and it's good for you if you would be skilled and fluent, to speak other languages aside from your mother tongue, aside from your native language. That's definitely a plus factor. It's good for you, especially when you go international, or when you aim to deal with people on different levels, whether on communicating, orally or in written form. Definitely it's a plus factor if you learn more than one language, and English definitely is one of the best languages to learn. But now I don't agree with that anymore, that um, with the changes, the best way is to find a language that would deliver the most amount of knowledge and learning for your students. So if you have to speak in the vernacular, well, go for it. If you have to mix your language, then go for it. Because I think the most important thing is for students to really absorb, um, because when they absorb the knowledge and the information, then they have the ability to apply. Because sabi ko nga, knowledge is power. But knowledge is useless if it's not applied. Knowledge is not powerful. It's powerless if it's not being applied. Especially in the field of agriculture, it is an applied field, and therefore we need our students to extrapolate what they learn from class. No, so if you introduce the concept of photosynthesis, which I would actually ask you again, because I'm very interested how you taught photosynthesis to the high school mental technocrats. Sorry, should I use the term for the Philippine Science High School, the ALS people? Because photosynthesis is one of the most important concepts to learn in agriculture.
yes.
Okay? So kahit kahit you will explain on the enzymes, photosynthesis systems 1 and 2, but those would be a waste of time if they just hear you but really did not understand you and cannot imagine how to really realize that concept, that theoretical biological concept, although it's also a natural phenomenon, and how to optimize that in agriculture so that it would lead to crop productivity. So because my thinking is that when you talk about the Philippine Science High School people, they know a lot of the science, the theories. When you talk about of the ALS people, they have a lot of practical experiences. So they're growing crops already. You said that some of your students are late because they just came from harvesting their crops. So if we go back to the photosynthesis concept, um, can you give a specific example how you taught that to the Philippine Science High School students and how you taught that to the ALS people? Is it okay to ask that?
Oh
So
yeah, no problem. So in the concept of the Philippine Science High School students, what I did was that the photosynthesis for them is a very basic concept since grade 7. So when we move up further, I guess until the third year, fourth year, or I guess it's in grade 9 or 10, it could have been well divulged on the photosystems, but not that much I could say. But It's basically because they have this plant physiology and anatomy, so they know that. But what I did was that with them, in order to really make it a technology, I package photosynthesis not as a science but as a technology of plants.
Mm-hmm.
So what I use the concepts that I really use was on the uh, quantum physics. Remember, we used how the wavelengths of light differ and
Yeah.
how the angularity changes. And
Mhm.
that's how I told them what happens in the leaf. What are the different wavelengths needed, and why do we have this concept of artificial lighting?
Mhm.
So with that, we use how did they use this plant machinery using enzymes and light to produce food in the form of plant factories. So that is a new concept. So I upgraded what was just a science to them, what is a normal plant function, into something that is in the industry. So there comes their concept again. They tried to pitch in different angularities. So, di ba ma'am, pag magtama ganito, ganyan, ganyan. And we have, I really encapsulated why do they need to learn their physics, chemistry, and biology all at once, and how do they use it in agriculture.
So,
So I really embrace how it is interdisciplinary, yet
right,
so simple at a glance.
right,
And I really honor the different pure science fields. So they say that agriculture is so basic. No, it's not. When you really tinker every machinery of the plant, from the use of different, like the tubes, I guess, when we have these different pressures, turgor pressures going up and down the plant, that is physics. So
right.
that is also chemistry. And these students need to appreciate that, because once they tinker those machineries, they see what could they do to make things better. Because we start with the small things and then we expand to the bigger ones.
So
So
how did you make that into a reality in your laboratory?
in the
What
it's
experiments or what laboratory experiments did you do with your students in order for them to see the application of quantum physics in chemistry, and I'm sorry, in photosynthesis and yeah, stuff like
we don't really have much more of the we don't really have that those equipments at school, but we have these different videos across the world. We have different scientists. I just didn't communicate because I have to encapsulate the topic within 30 minutes.
I see.
So it's very short. It should be short and simple, but really interesting. And I gave them journals. And what I learned with my master's degree way back then, I also share it to them, because we have these different lessons on quantum physics with the equation. So it's something that would really just spark up their idea. But
Mhm.
when it comes to the when it comes to the ALS students, it's a different concept. We start with the drawing, with the food web, and then what is the leaf, and the leaf, what is inside the leaf. You go back to the, I could say it's a grade school, ano pa siya. It's a very foundational, rather. It's a very foundational approach wherein you have to relate everything first and then connect. And then I can't discuss much with them about the yang cycle, all other cycles, but for them to get what is really important in the photosynthesis. And it's the major concept, like the light, the water, the carbon dioxide, the oxygen, and the fertilizers, as well as on the soil surface already. I can't elaborate further because again, I am given the same amount of time, but for these students, I have to say that they have to have a grasp of the concept rather than expanding it. Well, in the Philippine Science High School students, I am investing on their innovativeness that later on they will consider, oh, why not could I consider this as a research topic? How could I expand this, or how could I help this industry? It's like sparking ideas, because the students are already brilliant. You just have to give them, oh, aha, that is good. I could work on that. Yes.
All right.
Something like that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned about quantum physics for photosynthesis because I remember the first time I was Well, the first time. Because there was only the first time. When I was interviewed, when I applied for a faculty, when I applied as faculty here way back 8 years ago. So because I was from biology, and it helped me that I had a farming background. It helped me that my father was a farmer, and so think about it. I was accepted as a faculty for the Department of Agronomy, which is field crop production and management, right? And I had like biology as my background, but it helped me a lot that I grew up in the farm. My father was a farmer, although he was not very aware of concepts like photosynthesis and cellular respiration. I learned so many things from him, the practical knowledge that I realized, oh, this is what my father was saying. So I was just thinking, because one of the questions asked of me is, okay, how would you explain to students what are the different types of cells? So that was one of the questions I remember the screening committee was asking of me. And I said, well, it's going to be difficult to, just tell them what parenchyma is, what sclerenchyma is, what would be parenchyma is. The most important thing for me is to invite the class to go out with me. And then we look for a tree. There's so many trees outside, of course, no, the cluster building. And then to demonstrate to them that this is, okay, the outer layer, this would be this type of cell. And the next layer would be this type of cell. And what we cannot see, if we're going to peel out and carve and cut the tree into section, that we may be seeing the parenchyma and the other types of cells. So I think that was the selling point. I think that was the selling point how I how I got accepted, because I I was able to think of a practical way, an experiential way to teach, just not just the three types of cells, but to at least lead the students to have an actual experience on what would be the different types of cells. And that's why I was very interested about photosynthesis, because as a feedback to what you said, many of the students, even here, who reach third year and fourth year, still struggle to understand what photosynthesis is. Although by definition, they know the definition. They can say the definition even if they're sleeping. It's the process of food production in plants. But our goal in agriculture is, how can you optimize photosynthesis, increasing yield, increasing crop productivity? One of the ways to do that is definitely to improve and enhance the photosynthetic rate and the photosynthetic capacity. So I would just like to add to a little bit of what you said, because I was thinking, because of quantum mechanics that you mentioned earlier, I hope that people at the basic sciences, so those teaching the basic sciences in the first year and second year before they reach us in the third year and fourth year, would really be able to relate that when we talk about planting distances. Because one thing
Yes.
that's very for me, I was hoping that when we teach photosynthesis in unfortunately I cannot teach second year now. Okay, I can only teach
Oh.
third year and fourth year. So if you would like students to really understand photosynthesis at the simplest level, especially on the light capture and the quantum mechanics and the wavelength, planting distances, the importance, why we do a lot of research just to establish the best planting distance, the best seeding rate among different types of plants, no, and among different types of crops. Even if you say, okay, for corn, let's say 60 centimeters between hills, one seed per hill, that would be enough, especially if it's a hybrid crop. But could be different for an open pollinated variety of corn. And it could be different for another type of corn like soybean, which would have a lot of foliage, short but a lot of foliage, compared to corn, which would be tall and would have fewer leaves and things like that, because that would really lead to your quantum mechanics thing about receiving light and optimizing photosynthesis. And I hope that when students realize that kaya pala kailangan establish ang proper distance, kaya pala kailangan i-compute ang proper population density. It's not just
Yes.
about competition. It's about basically what you said about quantum physics, no? And I'm not sure if many of us in the applied sciences can really design learning activities in that kind of manner. Very simple, but people now would realize, kaya pala. It's because of what you said about, optimizing sunlight interception, optimizing, the wavelength, the proper wavelength. Kaya pala hindi makapag-photosynthesize ang plants, although there are different types of plants that can still photosynthesize during the evening. But that is that's the most interesting and beautiful for me. That's why teaching agriculture is the most interesting thing for me. Sorry, I'm very biased, but no course would ever
Yes,
surpass how
I
to
agree.
teach agriculture, because it's not just about one discipline. It's about so many disciplines, and you pointed that out so well when you mentioned about explaining further and enriching your students' understanding of photosynthesis by talking about quantum physics. So that's very that's a very good angle, Jimae. And then for your other AL students, then yeah, but I could not feedback a lot because I don't have the same experience that you have. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Sige, moving on. Sorry, moving on. I'd like to keep this for about an hour already. Oh my God, it's already more than an hour.
Hey, no
So,
problem.
okay. What time was the wedding? Sorry, something
It's
fell off.
okay. No problem, ma'am.
I don't want you to miss the wedding, because if I'm your friend who's having the wedding, I would feel bad if you missed a few minutes of my wedding. But anyway, all right. So let's move on now, because let's talk about one very recent achievement that you have again included in your CV is you had this, in spite of your track record, in spite of your academic record, you embarked on this internship program by the Department of Agriculture, uh,
Yes.
and it's something quite unexpected, I think, for some of your friends and maybe for some of the people who know you. I think I've read one of your posts on social media about some people who sort of were surprised. Let's just use the word surprised, why you did an internship, when in fact they expect you to have already so much knowledge. I don't think any person who loves to learn would feel saturated about knowledge. I think you are one of those people
Yes.
who is
Admittedly.
an infinite sponge for knowledge and learning and improvements, professional and personal improvement. So, can you share a little bit more about this internship, why you applied for this internship? Why? So why? Which means what is
Wow.
your next goals in life? Why you applied for this internship, and how was it? And if dami ng tanong, no? And the thing is that should should traditional acts, no? Should I use the word traditional academies? Should the knowledge learning system in the university would benefit if we would adopt of the the mechanisms employed in the internship that you went through. The internship, by the way, that Jimae applied for was the mentoring and attracting youth in agribusiness, which is acronym Maya. I think it's a program of DA, and it's free. It's a free internship, right, Jimae? You don't have to pay for it. So can you, yeah. So I'm sure, I hope you kept track of my questions. But
Yes, I
anyway,
did.
the simplest question, just tell us about this internship and why you went for it.
I went to the internship because it was posted online, and I was in Facebook because some of my friends knew I am one of the owners of Twin Peaks Coffee Alliance. So most of my marketing strategy is online, and I saw the opportunity, and it was a 6-month opportunity for agribusiness. And basically, I acknowledge that I am good at economics, but not really in agribusiness. So I was taking the opportunity. Oh, it's free, and we were given allowance for it. So it was a paid internship actually. So somehow I was saying there's a good return of investment with it. And one thing about the Maya program is that I am stationed at the Northern Mindanao Agricultural Crops and Livestock Research Complex, or NMAC LRC now. Previously, it was known as NOMIARC. So what is good in my research, or my handling office, was that it was more of how research is used to to build a technology which is very profitable. And me as a science person is really excited on experiments, on science-based decision making and enterprise building. So it's one of the facets that I could say that led me to be recognized, because I ask questions to our bosses. Okay, sir, ma'am, what is the return of investment with this and that? So I always ask questions because I want to really know the risk of these different industries. We were rotated in the different research projects turned into industries, and I was looking into opportunities on how to really learn a lot and then create linkages, because once you communicate with this person will acknowledge, this person is interested with what I do, and maybe she could help me, I could help her. It builds the rapport between you and your supervisor when you are building. For me, I am sincerely interested with what I am learning, because I want to maximize the time, because I really have this I really treasure my time, because even though if I am not working, I acknowledge that I should sleep well, I should eat well, and I should do my job, not because I am not having this time in and time out. It should be just 8 hours per day. It depends upon overtime, and I value that. I count, oh my god, I had this overtime, so I made 2 hours overtime, I will watch Netflix plus 2 more hours next day. Something like that. Because I always reward myself, because I don't have a boss. I have to really manage my time well and my goals, because there's no bonus or what, but I have to really make the most of my time. So that's what I did in the Maya program. So the Maya program is really enriching for agriculture. So wanted to have this venture of their own. And in my experience, there are key points that could be adopted in universities. One for me is to really enrich how we. I don't know with the updates and the curriculum of agriculture, but for me, we should strengthen the enterprising part on how do we how could, because the entrepreneur is always in the heart of a person. It's not always something given. Sometimes you can learn, but in how many years? That's why they are late bloomers of entrepreneurs, but they're also so young entrepreneurs that we could see online, and they're selling anything, and it's a good business. So there's that. So maybe in the university level, it would be good to have this. The college could have an incubation hub for entrepreneurs.
We have that already, I think. Mm-mm.
It's not just a thesis, mom. It's like a really simulation
Mm-hmm.
on how would we pitch in, on how could this how to whom would we deliver the business ideas of our students, for one, so that they could have good funding, or what linkages would they need.
Mm-hmm.
But for
So
me, like when you say DA, so DA is helping out of school youth or associations. How do we connect DA to help our college students who have studied this industry for 4 years?
mhm.
For me, there is this sometimes I don't want to it's just that I could compare that sometimes you should also give college graduates or college students the opportunity to build the business when they are still in college, because the professors are still there to check or to help them or guide them. And I could say this could be another load for these professors, because I don't know what is the target of the college, and how many entrepreneurs, how many employees, how many would be in the private, in the government, how would be leaders in the future, something like that, like the quota that we are building for our students, because we know that the workplace is very saturated.
Right, right. So
Yeah,
okay, let me just so that I will not lose my train of thought.
yeah,
So
yes,
you okay, your major then was horticulture, and I
yes, ma'am.
know that you have subjects like ornamental production. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not very familiar with the courses in your department, but you have landscaping as one of the subjects. Tama? Landscaping.
Yes,
Then
ma'am.
you have a subject on ornamentals and vegetables. So how can those subjects, how would you improve those subjects and incorporate real entrepreneurship activities if you would be teaching those subjects now? Because I absolutely agree with you about entrepreneurship. Um, we should teach agri students to be entrepreneurs. And we do teach the students to be entrepreneurs, but there is no, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if there is an actual challenge like anong tawag doon? There's a reality show about God.
Startups.
Yeah, like do you think half of the semester, if let's say if I'm the one teaching you the landscaping subject, half of the semester we should learn all about the theories and all about the best practices, etc., technologies about landscaping. But after the midterms, you should really do like market yourself. How can you get clients and customers? Prepare designs. To really try how it is to be a landscape agriculturist. Do you think that's doable? But it
Um, it would be for me. It's doable, but it for me, ma'am, it that's wherein the professor factor kicks in, because not all our professors are innovative enough to really package the subject into something like that would have this enterprising track, or maybe because of the load of the subject that we could see that maybe there's no more time. But I for me it's doable. At the same time, that's where in the FASMIN was really important for me, because we could really showcase our skills, what we've been doing for the past month, so that it could be presented in a venue wherein there are guests, to create events like that so that we can showcase the outputs of our students. It's really important as well. So might be it for me, ma'am, it's that's where in the teacher factor really kicks in. Not
I
all, yes, but if you are like what I did before when I was teaching in Philippine Science High School, I developed their marketing strands, and how did they I've developed a marketing booklet
mhm.
wherein when they have to do their selling, they just input everything. It's just a pre-formatted text. I could say it's just a booklet of bond paper I stapled and all, because it's a training ground on how do they have their income, how do they place their accomplishments, so that they would keep it on track. It's like on the development of instructional materials as well.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, because it could be simplified in a sense that there's already an existing project in the college or in the university wherein the students could work on it as well for some time, and then they could adapt on how they will go into the business. One of the problems in CMU, I guess, or in the college, is that our students are not that financially capable, or they don't have much of a spare money before. I remember before that we have to always innovate, or sometimes you cannot invest into a good business because of the lack of budget, like something like that. How could we help the students not to see financial difficulties as a hindrance for their enterprise? Rather, they work on the idea and we could support it, and then they just pay later on, like on the US goes to the student loans. So that's a good concept as well for entrepreneurship, that we start the support in the college level, and then since we have the professors, it's always that there could be something to correct it, to see what could be improved, like when we really go. But what is commendable in for me in my department is that we incorporated the economics of our different production systems, that we were thought about computation of ROI. Yet for me, actual practice, actual marketing, and teaching of innovative marketing practices or products could be helpful, since the market is already saturated with a lot of farmers who are more experienced with better connections. How would we college students step up
Mhm.
on the marketing battleground. So that is something that could be trained within the college, I guess.
Yeah, because okay, I'm glad you brought that out because I'll also be asking you to share a little bit about being one of the owners of a startup business because that is something that is very inspiring, no? One thing I'm grasping to understand is um even at the third year level, because I cannot speak for the first year and the second year students because I don't experience teaching them a lot. So I handle mostly third year, fourth year undergrad students. At the end of the semester, more than 50% of the class would always struggle about how to pay for their for their they have fees to settle, and number of students always struggle to find the money to pay for their fees, for their school fees, although most of the tuition is already covered by the government. But my point is that I don't understand because agri students are supposed to be trained to be producers, no? Not just producers of actual raw materials, but actually also to develop the skills that can be marketed. So for me, I always believe that agriculture students are so empowered with knowledge that can be turned into money and also skills that they can capitalize, no? Because they could, goodness, and uh, I'm lost. Actually, I'm lost in how can I become more effective as a professor in order to do that? Although my field is kind of different. No, my field in genetics and plant breeding would be kind of different, but there are still a lot of skills that are being harnessed among students that can be marketable. Even if they don't produce things, they have skills that can be marketable. Data analysis is one thing already. So you learn data analysis in your third year. And there are a lot of students in other colleges or in even other schools that may be struggling to do data analysis, and you can offer to do the data analysis for them, or you can do the tutoring for them for a fee. Because I don't understand why everything is just theoretical in a very practical field. Okay, I hope you get that.
Yes.
How can we make the students really think that agriculture is a very practical field and almost everything that they're learning from first year to second year to third year would be enough for them to really earn, to really earn, okay, for them to be financially stable? Because I don't believe that the absence of capital should be the major bottleneck. There are people who can start up a business even with just 10 pesos as a capital. But anyway, this is sorry if our conversation is becoming more complicated, although still anchored on what you brought out as entrepreneurship. So you don't have to respond to my you
But
know
that's a good point,
presence.
when you are saying that it shouldn't be a hindrance. At the same time, it's also a question for me before, how are students struggling when I don't know as well before, because honestly I'm not that, I could say that I was also struggling in my studies. It's just that it's about the amount of perseverance I placed into it.
Mhm.
It's not just that some of us learn something. This is one thing I always I observe so far. Some of our students or even my classmates are having this learning process for the sake of the subject, not because it's not something that is internalized. When you have internalized the concepts that were taught to you and you can connect them and you can place them in a reality that you want, because when the concept is not that well ingrained in your system, it would be really difficult to figure yourself out when you have nothing. Sometimes they just, okay, I study this, and okay, matter in, matter out. So that is something that is very difficult. And I guess you are also struggling with students because sometimes you teach them in third year, okay, they learn, and then it went out. Same with statistics, that's what they did. But one really, I guess one of the things that really strikes me about that is, again, it's experiential learning. I mean, when we say data analysis, uh, One thing that we could upgrade is that teaching our students how to use applications like our studio, Star, and the SAS. We could teach them that. But one thing that really struck me was that when my professor in my thesis told me, manually calculate your data, use Excel, but you have to just set up everything, but you have to use it manually. You can't, I will be the one to check it in Star. You check it manually. Like I even presented written notes about it. And that's when I was told, what if you don't have anything when you're in the field and you have to present the data to the farmers? What will you do? Those challenges are posted with the professors on how to really deepen the understanding of the topic. And that was something that until now, even when I was teaching in my colleagues were quite surprised when I was teaching in Philippine science, because I'm an agriculture graduate, but I could use my earned skills in data analysis on setting up experimental layouts, research designs, and how do they differ, and how many experimental units do my students need. And I coach students going international competitions on how they will do with their statistical presentations. And that is something, an edge, I guess. So that is something that I could say that when people really ingrain what they have learned, internalize, and make it as a living, what I can say, maybe I'm too much, but that's what had happened to me. That's why I still remember concepts, because when I listened, I absorbed it. I did not withdraw it from my system. I just withdraw urine and feces to my system. But what I learned, what I read, I did try to retain them, because those things are not useless. They are the stepping stones in whatever complicated concept that you are building. So as to the sometimes I don't know as well for other teachers, how do they deepen, or other professors, how do they deepen that students will really be struck with the knowledge, like really deep, that they don't just withdraw it from one sem to another.
Yeah.
That's a challenge as well.
Yeah, so I think we need to put we need to, as faculty, as professors, we really need to rethink about, you know, how to capitalize on the strategy called experiential learning, because just like what you said, you you learn the very basic of, for example, for your stat skills. Now you have the skills because you learned it the hard way first before you can learn to make things comfortable by using different software. Some of the students would just use the software, click, 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 so they don't really understand how to navigate. That's why, well, you don't have to go through that, but that's the reason why there is this movement about, you know, experiential learning. And I really subsist on the idea of experiential learning because agriculture is an applied field, and I think I still don't know a lot about theoretically. I think I'm a user of experiential learning strategies, but I'm still learning about it also, and still struggling on how to optimize that. And it becomes very useful, especially now with online learning. That even if the students are not physically present in campus, but you can still facilitate um, for them learning the concepts based on their personal experiences. So designing learning activities in that manner is actually very challenging. So um, that's why I was very interested with your Maya internship, because um, if 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 you think it's a very effective internship and it made you a better agriculturist, um, I think it is something that can be experimented. I hope there is a lot of room for experimentation in how we can turn in a typical traditional subject into an internship approach, because I think that would really cover the theories and the practice and the end point, which is really encouraging many of the agri people to become entrepreneurs, not just to sell products, but even to be entrepreneurs of ideas. No, not just outright technology, but to be entrepreneurs of ideas, because actually you can sell ideas.
Yes.
So, with that, can you please share with us your journey to becoming an a startup business owner. How did you, how did you reach that stage? It seems that you have lived a very rich life after you graduated in 2015. That's just 6 years.
Okay. So for the past 5 years prior to this year for the pandemic, it was a very challenging uh road because I chose academe despite the offers of management trainee from different companies. But I gave it a shot because I think that it is the best way to serve the country. So when the pandemic hit and there were some of the positions were not available, my family decided that I go home first for safety rather than staying somewhere far. And if something might happen, we don't know with the different situations in our country, even not into the pandemic side, but we know what's happening in the politics. It's very difficult to be far from your family and they're in constant panic of what you're doing. So uh that's when we thought about having this business, because when I started, when I didn't work, I how can I say this? My parents and I planned that it would be my growth year.
Mm.
It would be just about me because my parents know how I was a very supportive teacher. I do my best for my students and for my work, but they were saying, why not cultivate your own? Why not cultivate yourself? Why not do your masters that you long about, and then we'll support you. I was really lucky to have these parents who were really into developing their kid, or maybe they're just giving me something to work on because they know I can't just be bored and do nothing at all. So I managed the farm, I developed some of the areas, and then I did my masters, and then suddenly there's this idea on the coffee market. So there was a struggle in my previous company that I used to manage, and then I have these pending orders and I have to work on them. So silently we worked on it, and with good quality coffee, and Bukidnon is known for its best coffee. So we catered more communities. We tried to be more inclusive. We tried to teach more farmers. And then how Twin Peaks Coffee Alliance came to be. Twin Peaks because we are catering beans from Mount Kalatungan and Mount Kitanglad.
20.
And it's these communities needs to be more empowered about their coffee production and to be introduced to the world because they have what it takes. Because as I could attest, we have a shipping to the US recently and they really like the coffee. And we are shipping out more in a few months' time by fixing some of the deals.
Mhm.
And then it's a coffee alliance because we're building allies with different communities, and we don't want it's our concept. It's my concept as well to really build communities as allies rather than competitors, because we need to go as one to go up in the industry rather than this community improves, this one is left out. We are trying to share the opportunity. So building the startup is more on the fuel is inspiration. Your who got, or how do you want this to happen in 25 years time, and we're just two people in the business. So the master roaster who is in charge for the roasting, and while I am in charge with the marketing and how to introduce the business, how to make business deals. And it's kind of tedious at times when I say that I have to do overtime. Yes, we do, because some of our coffee clients are awake at 12 midnight and you have to cater them.
Yeah, the
And
international clients.
yes, and we cannot just say no. We
Um,
have to keep to be updated. When an entrepreneur now, you have to be updated in the social media. You should have an entry at least. I don't know, but I haven't posted anything yet. But gladly, our business is still thriving.
mhm.
And when you do the startup, there's this birth pains that you should really bear. That there's no income yet. You don't have what you say this a good income that they're saying, like when you see businesses of different Ateneo students, the income at 20,000 per month. No, we cannot benchmark on that because it's our vision as well to really uh, have the locals have a taste of world-class coffee that's produced locally. So that is our vision. That's why we don't really bank on high prices of coffee. We could say that we are one of the lowest priced coffee for our quality. So why embark the business having this inspiration to really bring good coffee to people. So that's how it started, and it's Twin Peaks is going better, and we are having more clients, and one of which, I guess, one of the traits that we have, and this is a good advice to the to those people who wanted to be entrepreneurs. Never forget what have you learned in college. Okay, never forget what is inculcated in you as a student or as a graduate, because those concepts can be used when you do your business. It's good to be in line so that you don't have to learn so much like others. If you try businesses which are outside your field, it could be the risk for losses is really high because you don't know how to sell it. Have a good product which is really which is available in the market, which is needed, which is for me, like for what I explored, I went to coffee because most of the people love coffee. It's like fuel. And then third is that have that risk in you. How far could you go with what you do? But remember that failure is inevitable at times. But the important thing is that you know or you learn from it. Failure is also an experience. It's not something that we could deny ourselves with, but rather it would be really great to always have this learner perspective. You learn from everything. You don't stop learning actually, when even if you're in the business, because you meet a lot of clients, and lastly, you know your purpose for the business. Aside from your building your personal wealth, enriching your community is one of the things that I don't know. I guess it will also be with me that I wanted to build a better Philippines or a better small community, because somehow we are living in a community wherein the future generation will also live. So I guess I want them to enjoy more mountains with coffee trees at least,
Right.
and they would have a better environment. That's our business perspective.
Thank you, Jimmy. Very inspiring. Actually, I wish our conversation would be longer because there are still a number of questions I
Oh,
have
it's okay, ma'am.
in my mind. But actually, we need to, yeah. But maybe we can have a second conversation next time, and it will be
Yeah.
more focused on because I'd really like to delve into the business thing because I wanted to ask you. Um, Especially I'm thinking of how to sort of revise some of the learning activities for the first semester because this is mid-year term now, and supposed to be the mid-year term is our time to rethink the strategies of teaching the courses for the next school year. So I think your knowledge, your experience, your inputs would be very, very useful, not just for me and for my classes, but that's why I would be sharing this video because this could be useful for many, not just for CMU, but even for the other uh, professors in other colleges who are teaching, agriculture. So I have like two questions in my list, and I was about to ask you what tips, but you already said that actually. You already shared some encouragement and some tips for students and those who are thinking of going into entrepreneurship. So I think that's one of the things that we can explore more in our next conversation. And so my final question for you, although I would really like to I really thank you for your time. Kasi pro bono to ha, walang ano.
Oh, that's no problem. I love sharing. I
Right.
really love sharing what I've learned, because I guess one of the, though I'm not working anymore, I'm in
You,
my dormant stage or
you are
hibernating.
working. No, you are
Yes, I mean,
working.
I'm not in the academe that much, though there are times that I'm reachable. I really help students who ask for I always say ask and you shall be given. As long as I have my free time, I do that. So there's no problem with the pro bono thing. I do pro bono for the glory of, I
Yeah.
mean, I've been to the spectrum of teaching from high school to college to out of school youth and even review sessions. I've been through the different
Mm.
universities, I guess, or culture of students. So I mean, sharing your experience would be helpful, especially for instructors who are just starting their career in the academe. Some of them could be really frustrated at first, but it always happens. And with the learning, you brought up the learning module, ma'am. So I'll answer that. Maybe if people need to develop good objectives on their on the process of developing the learning materials. Because one thing I've observed is that I have a brother actually studying in CMU, and I observe the learning materials, and there's a room for improvement for it. And it would, for me, it starts with the objectives on the learning on the topic. Because when you just settle with the uh, memory, with remembering, analysis, and understanding, it's very basic. It's high school level. But when you go into the evaluation, critical thinking, and synthesis of ideas, that would promote, I mean, that would cultivate their critical thinking skills. And that could be a good start, because when you have the objectives, you will go with the activities later on. You'll know what to make them do. Because when I was also teaching, even in college, I always visit Bloom's taxonomy of learning.
Blooms. Bloom.
And that is a guide. There's no absolutism in teaching that I am good enough with my experience, but you know,
Right.
having good references is also something.
Yeah, it's okay because even seasoned professors and senior professors still have to revisit Bloom's taxonomy, because well, yeah, but you're correct. In any activity, setting good objectives, whether personal, professional, work-wise, or even just to set for, let's say, even for a vacation or something fun,
Yes.
having good objectives really are very important. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. This is of course not a critique for us, but it's a reminder for us to try to also level up. Sometimes we become complacent and comfortable. So somebody like you is good to remind and to challenge, to challenge us to be always on our toes, because we have a huge responsibility. Education is a huge responsibility, but it's
Yes.
also a very good venue for fulfillment and joy. So, okay, my final question for Jimae, this is my God, hindi na matapos ang question ko. My final question for you is, can you share a personal philosophy that you have which has sustained through time? So if you have a personal philosophy that has been with you ever since, unchanging, even if there are small things that change to your personal and professional life. So that's one. And if you have also cultivated a new philosophy as today, because you have gone through many different, challenging and very fulfilling events in life. So first is constant personal philosophy, and second is a new philosophy in life. Can, can,
Mm.
can I,
How they I guess the philosophy that I am really firm about is on excellence. It's like I'm really firm on excellence because it always affirms that I only live once. I always make the best of what I've got in the opportunities. That's why, I mean, even if I've left the grounds of the academe as a teacher, it would be very fulfilling when your students always look back and talk to you despite being not a teacher anymore. They will just give this feedback. So, well, ma'am, I'm doing great. I thank you for what you've shared to me, because I did my best in every I I, as far as I remember, for the 5 years of my teaching career, I always take that a classroom is a performance. It's not I come prepared. I do my best to be as entertaining and as informative to my students. And I don't want to leave the classroom after that 50 minutes or 2 hours, or how many times that I stay there, even when I stand in an 8 hour lecture for the review, saying that I hope I did this. I hope I did this better. Something like that. Like, I don't want to have regrets. And that is, of course, that's the living philosophy for me. I guess that's the same thing why I still excel. I still get recognized in what I do, because I always make the most, or do and give my best in everything that I do. Maybe a new philosophy for me is that the Jeremiah 29:11. God has plans for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a life and a future. I can't really go with it word for word, but it's always that inspiring because the best is not always your best is not always God's best. It's not what He planned for, and I learned to rely on this on what God has in store for me. It's not just that even if I do my best, even if I want this task, I want this job, I guess if it's not for me and it's God's will, I learned to surrender all of it, and that keeps me. Some of the people might get tired of doing their best because it's not being uh reciprocated at some point. But when you learn that your failure is not yours alone, or what had happened it's not just what your own doing, but maybe God has better plans and better avenues for you to grow. It sustains you to continue your practice or your craft of being excellent rather than, oh God, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore. No, because sometimes my best might not be God's best. I guess that's something that I really work on, and trusting what God has in store for you is really inspiring, or makes you relax after a very stressful day. Oh my God, I did my best. I'm so tired. Still, people don't recognize me. Still, they don't like me. Okay, God, maybe you set new friends for me. Something like that. That we don't really settle for less, but we know that there's an upper hand in everything that we do, and you don't frustrate God by not giving the best shot that you do. Something like that.
Yes, thank you, Jimae. I think that's the best way to end this first conversation between the two of us. I think this is the first real long conversation we have had.
Yes.
So I'm so happy. Yeah, I would like to add something, but I'm not gonna do that because it was what you just said was really very meaningful, and you were able to link your new philosophy with your constant philosophy in life about excellence. So I would pray and wish you all the best in your new ventures, in your many goals and dreams, because I really support people who think only not for themselves but for the greater good of many. Definitely, you cannot please everybody. There would always be at least 25% of the population who would never like you, who would never like any us or whatever. But the most important thing is you sleep well at night because you have done, at the end of the day, you have done something good that makes you smile and that honors your God. So thank you, Jimae, and looking forward to another conversation with you.
Sure, ma'am, no
hopefully,
problem.
hopefully in person.
Yes,
and
next
yeah,
time.
and all the best. And by the way, for everybody, I've tried Jimae's coffee, the different variants, and I cannot pick anything because I just love almost everything. I'm down to my last two sachets. So, and to think I hoarded, I think all the 3 packs. I just gave away a few. I hoarded all the 3 packs with the different sets, and yeah. So all the best for your business. And in any way that we can help, if you need interns, student interns into your startup business, let us know, because I think many people would also benefit and learn from you and from your company. So, uh,
Oh, ma'am, I could have a giveaway for this video. I could give 3 sets of drips. So
okay,
whoever you pick, just give me the address, the contact number, and the name of the person. And
okay,
I could have drip packs. It looks like this. Yeah, I could have a giveaway.
oh, okay,
Yeah. So it would look like this. This is our drip pack. So it is complete with the set. Singles lang po siya. So maybe you could have some of your fans in your page and I could
thanks.
give them for free. Yeah, it would be good to have good participants to be rewarded as well.
Thank you. O, di ba? Ikaw na nga nagbigay eh. So, I'll devise of a way so that 3 people could have your gift. So thank
Yes.
you and be blessed, Margie May. All right.
No
So
problem, ma'am.
warm regards to your family and hope to see you again here in campus sometime soon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Bye bye and enjoy the wedding. Enjoy the virtual wedding.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Bye. I'm gonna end now.